Hello and welcome to the annual LexisNexis event here in Sydney. Thank you for all taking time out of your busy day to be with us here this afternoon. My name is Simon Wilkins. I'm the General Manager for LexisNexis Australia, and I'll be your facilitator today for the panel and our group discussion on human versus cloud, computing the people factor of legal services. Feels a bit like SeaWorld at the moment because you have the front row where everybody thinks they're going to get wet, but it's okay, you guys will be fine. This is the third year in a row that we've ran this style of event to facilitate discussion in the legal community. The first year, a couple of years ago, we looked at innovation inertia and the risk appetite for innovation in the legal landscape, which led to a discussion on smart law the following year, looking directly at the impact of technology and the practice of law, which has led kind of organically to where we are today, this natural progression of focusing on people this year and how the profession is being impacted. So what I'd like to do first is just introduce the panel. On my left here, I have Marcus McCarthy, who is the principal of Nexus Law Group, armed with 18 years of experience and a champion of the new law concept. Marcus has advised clients in relation to all facets of business, commercial law and litigation, with a particular focus on the construction, infrastructure, mining and transport sectors. Marcus established Nexus Law Group as a means for aspiring and accomplished lawyers to practice law as sole practitioners, but with the collegial support of a network of other senior lawyers. Nexus also invented a practice system called Open Law to connect independent consultants as one cohesive firm. Welcome to the panel, Marcus. Next to Marcus is Leonie Chapman, who's the principal lawyer and director of LAWyal Solicitors. Leonie is a virtual lawyer and co-founded LAWyal Solicitors to give her the workplace flexibility that she needed. LAWyal is an incorporated legal practice that offers affordable legal advice online for Australian financial institutions, companies and small to medium enterprises. Prior to this, Leonie was an in-house lawyer for Bluestone Group and Macquarie Bank, and Leonie has also recently published a chapter on the evolution of the virtual law firm in Australia and its impact on talent management. Welcome, Leonie. Next to Leonie, we have Adrian Agius. Adrian is a Technolegal at Gilbert and Tobin, and recently also started a role as a legal data scientist at Law Data Science. Adrian is one of the first Technolegals and an advocate for all things law and technology. Vowing never to undertake a traditional legal job, Adrian has the best of both worlds by working in legal technology and technology law. And Adrian was one of the main organisers of UNSW's first law-based hackathon called Hack Justice. He's also the president of the Legal Forecast, a community for young legal professionals and students that are entrepreneurially minded and believe technology has an important role to play in legal practice and access to justice. Welcome, Adrian. And last but by no means least is Tobias O'Hare. Tobias is a senior barrister's clerk and practice manager at Greenway Chambers. He joined Greenway Chambers, the professional home of over 30 barristers, as the founding clerk early last year. And as part of Greenway's leadership team, he's heavily involved in the development of Chambers and continues to contribute his expertise with regard to present and future direction. He's also passionate about artificial intelligence and its impact on the profession, especially graduates, and a great advocate for innovation in the legal industry. Welcome, Tobias. Please welcome the panel. Okay, so why are we here today? Well, firstly, everyone here, whether you're in legal, in-house counsel, a legal practitioner of a firm, a practice manager, or even a LexisNexis staff member, I think we all know that we're facing challenges that come with the evolving expectations of legal service delivery today. We live in an era where technology is shaking up traditional roles, disrupting business models and propagating what we could call an always-on mindset, and the legal profession is right at the vanguard of these changes. Technology continues to create new opportunities for business growth and access to the legal system that didn't exist before, making it a truly exciting time to be a legal professional. A study that LexisNexis ran last year on legal and regulatory technology found that 1 in 5 legal services firms had allocated more than 40% of their IT budgets to workflow efficiency and productivity technology. Another key theme that transpired from the survey is the growing trend towards mobility, driven by mobile device ownership and how that's made the daily commute an extension of the office. a quarter of respondents to our survey said that that time, that daily commute, is used to conduct work-related activities such as reading emails and managing calendars. And technology has also impacted the face of the legal landscape by providing new avenues of flexibility and mobility. And it's also added a sense of constant connectedness that adds to the mental health concerns of maybe an already ailing profession. Our survey this year is going to focus on the Australian legal profession, and results will be released in conjunction with this event series, and we will all give you access to that survey. And so we've invited everybody here today to put people at the core of the discussion and explore how the pressure to embrace technology has impacted the practice, purpose and passion of the legal professional. And I think we've got some fairly thought-provoking questions, and we've got a panel of leading experts and innovators from the legal and business sectors with us here today. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to do some live polling. So a few points to note as we go into that. This live polling during today's discussion we'd like you all to participate in. So please, if you could grab your mobile devices, if you have those handy, that would be fantastic. And let's play along with me here. What I'd like you to do is just literally enter in that web address on screen. So that's POLLEV.com/Lexis, LEXIS, Oz, AUS. So that's POLLEV.com/LexisOz. You don't need to log in, you don't need to do anything else, just simply respond to the question that you see on your phone, which hopefully you will, and we'll return to this a little bit later on. If you're having any problems with this, please raise your hand. The LexisNexis team is ready to pounce and to help you. I can see that they're eagerly poised and ready to go, but nobody's raising their hand, so hopefully we're in good shape. If you need it, you'll see the Wi-Fi code for the venue here. I think there's also on a card that was on your chairs there. And hopefully, again, you'll be good to go with that. So we will be using live polling. We'll also be asking you to participate, if you'd like to, with questions from the floor as we go. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask the panel as the discussion gets going, then by all means do, just raise your hand or shout out, and we'll try and get a mic to you so everybody can hear your question. We're also using social media today. So if you're using Twitter, you can engage or follow the conversation by using the hashtag HVC17, which should be at the corner of the slide there. Okay, hopefully everybody has the technology working. My job today is just to be like an airline pilot, so provided that I can make this an enjoyable journey and land this thing on time, we're in good shape. So let's get going. And what I'd like to first do is just ask a pretty general and open question. And Leonie, I might start with you if it's okay. Leonie, tell us first, what attracted you to a career in law in the first place, and what do you find fulfilling about your career?
Look, I probably didn't know I was going to be a lawyer. I didn't really want to through school, but I'm definitely a problem solver from a younger child, and I love writing and researching. But as I went through, I was only temporarily a lawyer in a law firm, in a typical law firm, traditional law firm, and I went in-house pretty quickly because I loved the commercial aspects of dealing with the end-to-end client at the beginning of the project to the end of the project. So I went into banking and finance in Macquarie Bank, Bluestone, and places like that quite early. Now, what do I love about being a lawyer? I love this new alternatives law that's coming out. I love talking about it. I love operating in that space. And we've got fantastic clients, so that interaction with clients. I think the major topic here is human versus the cloud. For me, it's the human interaction with the clients, and it's continuous and ongoing on an outsourced in-house basis that I absolutely love. Okay, thank you.
How about you, Adrian? I know you're pretty new to the legal sector in many ways. When you started your degree, when you started on this path, did you see yourself becoming a technolegal?
No, definitely not. Just to tell you, I'm still studying, so I'm in the last year. I'm still deciding what I'm going to do with my law degree. But the technolegal role sort of just organically came into place. It wasn't something that I necessarily went out to achieve, but it still isn't really defined. It still doesn't know where it fits in the industry, and I think that's the nature of a lot of the newer roles that are coming to exist in law. Having an understanding of law is important, and it's one of the main reasons I've stuck with my law degree, because there was a stage during my study that I thought information systems, which is my other degree, is so much more useful, so much more pertinent. But if I wanted to have an impact in law, I think it was important to stick with law, to have that piece of paper, if you like. And it's probably going to be the same with my practicing certificate. It's more of a formality and a means to an end to be able to, I guess, win the respect of people in the industry to enact change. So, yeah, technolegal role is interesting, but where it ends up still remains to be seen.
Okay, and I think we're going to explore that a little bit as we go on today. So let's just get moving with some live polling, just to get everybody involved a little bit. So hopefully, wow, we already have people that are polling, which is great. So you can see the question there: which of the following is the best indicator for a successful legal career? Hopefully, if you poll, you will see that something will change. There you go. Something's already changing there on screen. And again, just raise your hand if you have any issues with that. Whilst this is happening, maybe Marcus, I'll go to you. And let's think about this idea of a successful legal career. So tell me, for you, Marcus, how do you define success for yourself in terms of your organisation and, you know, in the legal career space? Sorry.
I'm trying to remember. How do I define success? For me, it's about mastering the professional skill of law and being the best I can be, which is all about, to me, it's about servicing clients, and that's, you know, why I started Nexus, was about how do you build a structure that would better service clients. And I think that's really the driver for most people in law, or at least most lawyers I know are really all about how they can best service their clients, and they're passionate about that. And I think that's a lot of talk about lawyers doesn't recognise that. So I think that, for me, that's defining of my business and my career as to how to be the best I can be, both in a traditional legal sense and then as a practice manager.
Thanks, Marcus. Tobias, how about you? I mean, how do you see legal careers kind of changing and this landscape changing?
I think the role of just a pure lawyer is changing. I think there's other roles in the firm that are becoming more important. Not more important than a lawyer, but they're just rising in sort of significance, because you need more people on the ground to sort of see what's happening in the environment, which lawyers are really good at the law, and sometimes you need other people that are around you to advise and direct you in ways that are going to be positive for your business and positive for the community. I think legal careers at the moment should be exciting for most people, especially because there's so much enthusiasm about improving the practice of law. And there is actually a lot of people that are wanting to talk about this, and there's a lot of people that are actually wanting to affect change. And I think that's really exciting. And so I think anyone going into law should definitely be looking forward to a career that may be a lot different to something that was 20 years ago, but still just as rewarding, and possibly more so.
Okay, thank you. And Leonie, what do you think is changing in this space in terms of motivations and drivers to success?
Yeah, for me, there's a personal, you know, my success is around flexibility. Obviously, from a purely legal perspective, it's client retention. It's the fact that our clients are referring their clients to us, and it's the ongoing growth, which is quite organic. But for me, on a personal level, and for all of our consultants, it's about getting control and flexibility back into our lives, but still being able to provide this really top quality legal advice to our clients. So for me, it was the reason I started the practice. I have 3 very young little boys. They're absolutely crazy, but I work, my life is all centred around them, and then the clients and everything fit around that. It's all from home, I don't have to travel. And if I've maintained that, that flexibility and that control, if I've got a stable home and I've got satisfied clients, I'm feeling that I'm a very successful person.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll ask Adrian this question as well. Adrian, your thoughts, kind of as you're embarking on this career in this space. What do you think is going to define success for you?
Flexibility is another one. really add much more, except to say that I enjoy being able to do different tasks, not have to be at an office between 8:30 and whatever ungodly hour people stay back to, because I think being able to complete the work and do tasks that are assigned to you, you don't have to be in a physical location to do that anymore, and technology is really enabling that, but I think it's a reluctance and just a traditional thing that a lot of partners and firms hang on to, that your physical presence in an office is indicative of how much work you're doing, which definitely isn't true.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to explore that a little bit in a minute, but I just think as we see the POSM, guys, you can see this on the screen over there, but you might not be able to read that, so forgive us if it's a little far away. But you can see that kind of personal satisfaction really is the driver that the audience here today is saying is really the best indicator for a successful legal career. And I can tell you this is the 6th time that we've done this now around Australia, and that's been pretty consistent for the live polls in that particular space. And again, it would be fairly consistent to say, as annual income literally disappears as we speak, that annual income has been the lowest indicator that pollsters have given us. And then something's worked out. And now you're going to try and change your score. It's okay. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this kind of flexibility in terms of work habits. So, as we mentioned, we're really seeing that change. And I think it's changing everywhere. It's obviously changing within the legal services space, and this idea of an increase obviously in work activity occurring outside of office hours, an expectation maybe from clients or colleagues that everyone's always available. But it's interesting, you can see some responses to that too. In France, for example, we've seen legislation recently that's calling for the right to disconnect. And there's been some large German organisations that have put bans in place to ensure employees aren't checking and responding to emails 24/7. I'll know that I've got a whole bunch of emails from people right now that will expect some responses, almost the moment that they send them to me. So, let's just think about the next question, which is, really, what do we think is the best way to look at work-life balance and practices that best stimulate that in the legal profession? Again, it's a live poll that we'll see there on screen. And Marcus, I might go to you first on this. What are your thoughts on this idea of the right to disconnect? To be able to say, I'm switching off from work, at these times across these hours.
I think there's a natural human right to disconnect, but whether we legislate for it, I think is a bit ridiculous. But I certainly believe that it is about getting that whole suite done. So when you're responding to things outside of work, and I know personally that has been a real problem for me in terms of when do I switch off, to the point where my wife imposed on me a 7 o'clock deadline every night. I couldn't talk about Nexus and I couldn't respond to emails.
Right.
But for me, I've never had a problem with that. But I think some self-imposed parameters are a real critical thing for that. And I think a lot of people don't have that within them. They just have that urge to respond to everything. And this is the function of email that's imposing things on us as practitioners in particular, in the nature of our practice. And I think it is a real danger. But it is about personal control, really, almost. And I think that's maybe the education piece in the industry about even the mental health aspects of answering emails at 9 o'clock in the morning, and what that effect is.
And everybody has their own boundaries that are different. And so we've got a consultant who doesn't like working in the morning. She only likes working at night. She works into the wee hours of the morning, and she's most efficient in that time, and then she sleeps in, and that's how she works. And we've got another consultant who doesn't want to do anything on school holidays, but she works absolutely crazy hours during the working, during the school, when the school term's in. And they are setting their own boundaries about when they can and can't and do and don't want to work. It's on an individual basis, which a lot of the firms can't give because it's 9 to 5 or 8 to 10.
Okay. And Tobias, do you think this idea of work-life balance is crazy and it's a kind of bygone idea? Or what are the right environments?
Not at all. I will firstly say that I don't actually have my email and I put my phone on to do not disturb after 7 o'clock. And I believe we don't need to legislate it. I think it's a bit of personal control. And there's all sorts of devices that you can lock your phone in these days if you want to take it away completely. But I think work-life balance is really about the culture of the organisation. And I think you have to set out rules that are going to be acceptable and not acceptable. And if everyone knows, for example, in my organisation, they know that I don't have my emails on my phone, and so they understand that they're going to have to use another mode of communication. And a lot of the problems that we're going through right now are actually because of the technology. I don't think when you're writing correspondence in hard copy, you would have expected the person to write that second a response or formulate some sort of response. We also didn't expect people before the age of mobile phones to return a phone call instantly. Yeah. And we're becoming into a society where we want an instant response, we want the problem solved right now. And I think that's really what we're going to have to be looking at, is how do we change those attitudes, or how do we set out rules and sort of ways of doing things that allow people to have the freedom to be flexible and to have a work-life balance. And if we can do that, then it's completely possible. If you have a boss or an organisation that demands you're plugged in 24/7, and there is no work-life balance, and you just have to look at the tech industry to see the sort of rates of burnout that are there. And that is because they're plugged in all the time, going through huge amounts of growth. So it is really about sitting down as an organisation and saying, what are the points of pain going to be for us if we put these rules in place, and what are the benefits going to be for our employees.
And you talked a little bit there about a kind of management culture or something like that kind of supports these pieces.
Yeah.
And again, you know, as we're thinking about how we get on that journey to do those things, what are the kind of things you think that, you know, leaders should be modelling, or how we might kind of?
I mean, the first thing you need to be doing is sitting down and saying what is reasonable to expect in those circumstances. And I think one of the things about late night email, which I don't personally like, is that it then gets my brain going and I'm trying to solve the problem. So I think there has to be a little bit of leadership in that, saying, you know what, that can wait until the morning. I'm not sure if there's any sort of delayed email platforms out there that can delay emails and send them at a later date. But it really is about sitting back in management and saying, what are the sorts of things that are reasonable to expect for our employees? And I think it's reasonable to expect that they're left alone for a certain period of the day.
Let's make a point on that. I actually, one of the reasons I stopped sending emails to 7 was exactly that, because I found that if I sent an email at 8 o'clock at night, I would invariably get a response. And I didn't want them to respond. I was getting it off my plate, and then they would then feel compelled to respond. And I didn't want that culture coming into the organisation. I think as a leader, you've got to be conscious of that. And certainly as a general counsel, you know, I will get that from the other side as a CFO sending me emails at 11 o'clock at night expecting a response, and I thought that was a very unhealthy thing. But it was client-driven and forced upon me, so it's not all capable of self-regulation. Sometimes you've got to be strong with your clients and educate them about what you're going to do and what you're going to do.
Simon, in relation to Tobias, you touched on the fact of reflection. Don't you think that this culture of getting things back quickly means that people don't think about what the problem is, what their experience tells them, what they should research, and get something together with some thought rather than knee-jerk reaction?
I think you're right. I think sometimes you do need to definitely sit back and compose yourself and put a response together. I think we've all seen responses that are quick and inappropriate. I'm sure that we've all got stories about that. Or when you're copying the wrong person, which I've done personally. And I think there is a culture of trying to respond too quickly, and it's not necessarily a good thing. It's a good thing when you're saying, I'm on it, I'm all over that task, and I'm letting you know that I'm thinking about it. Which I do personally. I'm not sure if everyone else does, but I'm thinking about work often all the time. It doesn't mean that I want to respond to email. I'm just thinking about the problems that might be occurring the next day, and that's perfectly normal and natural, but I don't need to be sending emails about it.
Okay, thank you. And Adrian, I mean, I don't know whether this is a fair characterization, but this idea of being always on, you know, I certainly know plenty of people that are many years younger than me that would just see that as being, you know, a normal thing, and being connected is just part of the normal kind of social fabric of life. So again, what are your thoughts about this idea of disconnecting and being just literally being uncontactable in a professional sense for a period of time?
Yeah, you just see my Twitter feed at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Trump said something in the US, I'm all over it. But I guess I have this perspective where I don't mind being awake at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning doing some work. If there's an understanding that when I need time at work, or when I need an assignment due or something, that I can take that time for myself. And maybe it's just a flaw that I have in that I can't manage my time very well, that I need those hours, but seems to work well. It doesn't really stress me out to be working or thinking about work at all times. And studying law data science has really forced me to use those hours that I ordinarily would use for myself to rest, to do extra work. But I don't mind it because I enjoy the work I do, and I don't really see it as a burden. So I guess work environment, the type of work you do, or contributes to that. Maybe when I'm not studying and I have less of a burden study sense, it might free up a bit of time. But at the moment, it just feels like I'm getting through stuff that I enjoy. So it's not too bad. Might change next year.
Okay, thank you. And Leonie, I mean, you've used technology to assist you in terms of setting up your practice, setting up your firm. And are you seeing technology assist here, I guess, enabling more work-life balance or integration, or whatever we call these things nowadays?
Absolutely. For us, we created our own software in-house so that we could facilitate consultants across Australia through the cloud, and they all have their own portal, and clients can also access their matters and interact with us through the software. For me, it enabled me to work from home. My husband built the software for me. I could work from home and also have these consultants do overflow work so that I wasn't constantly working. And for me, I mean, talking about these hours, I'm online very, very late, but I'm not online between 3 and 7 because I'm kicking the food with my kids. And the clients don't know that, but just don't answer my phone. But then I'm straight back on at night. So I think it's all personal preference there. My priorities at the moment are young children. Later on, there probably won't be red wine, you know, at 8 o'clock at night. So, but the software, I don't think, I mean, I've thought about the practice and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without our software. There's definitely software out there that can do similar things, but it's 100% tailored for what we want. And we've built it without the knowledge of what else is out there. So it's the workflow is exactly what we need for kind of banking, finance, regulatory, and couldn't do it without it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, at GT, so we're much bigger, but we've moved to Barangaroo and we have a completely open plan office. And part of that is that every employee is issued with a laptop, and the 4 floors at GT have desks, wireless keyboards, so you can plug into any desk basically. And on level 35, which is the operations desk level, we don't have the right number of desks. Essentially, we have less desks than staff, and the idea is to promote flexible working, so you can work from home. And we have the technology to do that because we all have laptops, we all have VPN access to get onto the network. And that sort of attitude from GT at least has really supported that flexible working. Whereas if you have a desktop and you have like a fixed place to work, it makes it a bit more difficult, a bit more of a hassle, but that's something I think, especially since we've moved to Barangaroo, that's helped us working in that flexible arrangement.
When I was at Macquarie, we went from Bond Street in fixed desks to Shelley Street. We had the activity-based working, and that's actually what gave me the idea of starting this practice. I had 2 kids at this point, and I was getting them into the city and losing 2 hours in the morning just to get them there to sit in anywhere. I could sit in the cafe and punch out emails to the clients, the business. I didn't sit with the lawyers, I didn't sit with the clients, I just sat in the dark corner punching out work, and I thought, what am I doing here? I could walk from the kitchen to my study and in 5 minutes, and I'd literally saved 3 hours of work, and I can put more into my day and spend more time with kids.
On that point, I think as well, people forget the productivity of working from home. I know personally, I get up early, so I'll sit down at the computer at 6 a.m. and I'll work through, often without a break or a walk to my kitchen and get a coffee and sit back down. And you can work for 6-7 hours straight without any issue, with no distraction, and the quality of work is higher. And I just think there's sometimes people worry about working from home means a day off, when actually it can be a very, very productive thing.
Absolutely. And again, I think the results here talk a little bit to the comments that we've had from the panel, and this idea that, you know, it's about mobility and fundamentally about a supportive management culture. And again, that's been consistent as we've gone around the country. But I'd like to just explore this idea of technology a little bit now, if I may. And you know, there is, you know, there's certainly been some concern or some comments, you know, made in our industry that the robots are coming, which I think has created quite a lot of uncertainty. I don't know whether anybody saw the ABC iView documentary a week or so ago called, I think it was called The AI Race. And if you had no sense of how the ABC were positioning that with regard to AI and humans in that space, just listen to, or just try and pick up the subtext. There was this sinister music that was underlying every time they talked about artificial intelligence. This sinister little refrain came in. So, and it's interesting, you know, I picked up a survey from a company called Pega Systems, PEGA Systems, which is a customer experience business based in the US. They surveyed 6,000 adults from North America and from APAC and from EMEA, and asked them about AI. And the first question they asked them was, do you understand what AI is? And 72% of the respondees said they absolutely did. And then they were asked, you know, what is it that you fear about AI, or do you fear AI? And 72% of respondees said they feared AI. And what scared them most were things like 33% of respondees said the AI is never going to know me and my preferences as well as a human being. 24% said the rise of the robots and the enslavement of humanity what I would fear most. 5% said robots uncovering my deepest secrets is something I'm concerned about. And 10% said finding that I get on better with AI than I do with my friends and family. So where are them? So it's fair to say, I think, that there's a little bit of uncertainty, there's a little bit of fear of the unknown in the AI space. So what we're going to do now is just have a little bit of what we call a word cloud. And again, what you simply need to do is just choose a word on your screen, on your device that you think has the potential to really change the legal profession. And Marcus, again, I might go to you on this, and your thoughts about particularly, you know, technology in the legal space, artificial intelligence, machine learning, how this is really now changing.
I certainly don't subscribe to the Susskind view that the robot lawyer is coming anytime soon, that's for sure. Artificial intelligence is a misnomer. If anything, it's artificial emulation of average intelligence at best. So Nexus is about to launch a rather large online platform, and I feel like I have to lie to the market in order just to get into the market and say we're delivering artificial intelligence. No, we're delivering conditional logic forms to conditional logic documents, and that's as far as it goes. And that has actually been around for many years. But I certainly, use technology, and what Leonie described, we have a similar thing. We have cloud-based practice management software with a lot of the features she described, and there's a bit of tech that we built to run the Nexus Law Group because it was the only thing that could run a large network of independent contractors as one firm. And so there was nothing on the market that could do that, so we had to build it. And then, we've always been looking at online documentation, and I wanted to do it in the right way with the right set of credible skills behind it. And so there's online automation coming, in terms of that, and we can all leverage off those. And for me, that's about connecting the human with the cloud. So just looking at the topic, human versus cloud, I don't see it as a versus at all. It is using technologies to be an adjunct to our day-to-day practices and make us better lawyers, better service providers. And that it can do. And so we can all leverage off technology. And there is a lot of... I have been watching this for a while, so you might need to wind me up on this.
That's all right.
there is a lot of sort of ad hoc technological developments around the world around things that will, predict the outcome of particular pieces of legislation and produce a document, produce an online advice, and there's Neotologic and a number of businesses like that servicing that market. In essence, it all just boils back to a conditionally driven form to a conditional logic document, including an advice, which is, if you answer a question this way, then put this clause in that contract or this paragraph in that advice. So that is a very usable piece of tech, and what it does is takes the burden off the front end of the relationship. But if it's not connected to the back end of the relationship, which is the real world delivery of legal services, then it has no value, and it just is always going to stay at a certain level, in the sort of dumb level. But you can certainly use it to leverage and connect to the real world, and I think that's the real power of technology. And certainly, Nexus has always been a tech-driven author, and we have been thinking about this and how to do it for some time. So, I don't subscribe to the view that the robot lawyer is coming until someone is giving this talk. I think we're pretty safe.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Other thoughts from the panel, Tobias?
Sure. I think a lot of people do get ahead of themselves with what AI is actually doing or what it's going to do. And really, one of its big things that it's going to affect is the legal processing jobs. It's going to be those mundane administrative tasks that it's really focusing on. And obviously it can't replace the custom work, the strategic advice. It can't replace those lawyers in those litigation roles. But it's definitely going to come along and take away a lot of those jobs that paralegals do or graduates do. And I don't think it's obviously there's an analytical bias against any technology because the people who invent it want to wipe out whatever they're inventing the thing for. And as we talked before, they always want to sell a book and all of that sort of stuff. So they're always going to say, that job is never going to go, that job is not going to exist anymore. And this is not a new argument. Technological unemployment has been talked about for many decades now. When new technology is introduced into an industry, it doesn't always wipe out everything. It changes the opportunities and it changes the challenges that faces. The one thing that we always have to realise is that the technological paradigm tells us that the worker will be released into a higher level work. So instead of doing these everyday mundane tasks, you're going to be able to do more servicing of client. You're going to be able to do more of the custom work. And at the moment, there's a huge amount of distraction in a lawyer's day because they spend so much time doing administration work and they're not doing all of the actual billable hours, the actual work that pays. And so I think there is a really good argument to include it as much as you can. I'm not sure how it's going to go with predictive sort of outcomes. I know there's some stuff in England that's predicted 98% correct outcomes for cases when they put test cases in, and so there is a lot of stuff out there that is really very interesting. How long it's going to be before it's introduced, I'm not sure.
Okay. And Leonie, this kind of question of again how technology enables a more kind of personal touch or an outcome that is in that human space. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean the virtual space, you would think that it's less of an intimate, but less of a hands-on, less of a personal kind of experience for clients. But with us, we've found that we are even more like an in-house team than a traditional firm. And that's more probably the style of our firm. We do like to do that kind of overflow for the in-house teams, for the banks. But it's also, the software has enabled us to just focus on doing the really senior legal work rather than, like you said, the administrative stuff. But yeah, and also we've got this model where we don't have employees. I'm the only employee. They're all senior consultants and they're all branded under LAWyal. But again, they all deal directly with the clients. The clients now know them. They get first instruction from the client. So we are actually operating like a law firm without sitting together. So we're all over Australia and we don't need to sit together. And that's all through the software. So it's definitely not taken away that personal touch. Our clients demand to have ongoing, kind of very commercial, very practical advice.
Okay, thank you. And Adrian, I'm looking back at the introduction that I gave you where you said you vowed never to undertake a traditional legal job. And obviously some descriptions we might get to here is that traditional legal job still stays, or that again, it is all, obviously client and outcome focused. Tell me about how you see this combination of technology and people.
Yeah, so technology in law is it's not a new thing. So anyone who's been working in e-discovery has been dealing with high volume, high data volume litigation for a while now. And the technology there is something that a lot of lawyers don't really get an exposure to because they just never had to deal with it. They go through the litigation, they go through the discovery process, but there's always someone who's magically putting these documents into a case management system, doing the electronic exchange with the other side, and so on and so forth. And a lot of the technologies, the AI technologies, if you like, not so much for the delivery of core legal services, but for, I guess, supplementing those large-scale discovery matters, working with the large volumes of data there, incredibly important and something that's not, I guess, seen by lawyers on the front end because it's not pretty, it doesn't solve your case from A to Z. But the other side of it is not viewing it as a way of bringing in revenue, but as of saving costs internally. So firms are big corporations and they run well, but they run inefficiently at times. And being able to step away and say it's not how much money you're bringing in, it's how much money you're saving internally is an important question to ask. And you can measure that with tools internally. So stuff like neurologic and decision trees logic, they're not AI as such, but they're technologies that save time, and you can measure that time and then how much that time is worth to a lawyer or a partner. So then how much value are the people who are building those tools creating for your firm, or how much money is the saving. So if you're in that light, it's something that a lot of firms don't do. They want to build a product that they commercialize, that they can sell to clients. But I guess a lot of the clients they service have their own technology teams anyway, so you probably don't want to be building technology for them. You're not a tech company selling to them. And whether robots will take our jobs, I don't think so. But there's still a lot of room to move, and for me and what I've been doing with like a lot of the data work, firms have a lot of data that they don't use, that they don't tap into. So being able to ask the right questions around that data is incredibly important too. So yes, I agree that lawyers will forever be a part of the legal industry for as long as it remains, but I think overlooking those other roles is, from some firm perspectives, a bit naive.
Thank you. And Marcus?
Yeah.
I mean, it strikes me that there's a lot of discussion there around the idea of automation of tasks, right? And it's interesting. I reflect on the fact that a few years ago, we LexisNexis launched a solution where we talked to clients about saving them time. We said, this will save you time. Going to law firms, going to legal professionals and saying that. And I remember a lot of lawyers at that time telling me, why would you want to save me time? I don't want to save time. I can bill around that. And again, this notion now that the billable hour and fixed fee is really kind of coming to the surface. And again, Marcus, I don't know whether you want to just kind of comment on that as a driver for the way that we're seeing opportunity to change it.
Oh, I think fixed fees are an absolute driver for process automation because of exactly what was just mentioned. The firms need to deliver the service at a reduced cost to meet the fees, the threshold and costs. So most of the tech is around saving that front-end time in terms of getting the instructions, perhaps, and getting it bottled up into some form, or in discovery it's about running a process that saves a whole bunch of time so that you can meet the client expectations. And the rise of in-house counsel is also driving that, and sort of forcing that out into the profession. Certainly, fixed fees, there's a lot of talk around new law and fixed fees as if fixed fee is new law. I don't subscribe to that either. It's just a pricing strategy, and it's been around forever in the large-scale M&A transactions and in the low-value process-driven things. So it's absolutely nothing new. But there is what's more behind the fixed fee push is market forces. And pressure coming from clients who are just not willing to pay what they used to in a tight economic conditions. And so a lot of that is driving a lot of tech, actually, about how to deliver something quicker and faster and cheaper, but really it's about saving time. So I think that's a good term.
Thank you. All right, so we might move on to the last question for the panel, and then I'll open it up to the floor. But Tobias, I'll start with you, and I'll just move down the table if I may. So when we think about strategies that could be pursued to create this right environment to foster professional development, personal passion, and work-life balance for legal professionals, what are your thoughts about those kind of strategies?
This is really going to come back to that sort of structure you've got in place and the teams that you've got looking at this, but it's really going to come down to this is a culture thing, and is that culture going to be innovative? Is it going to be diverse? Is it going to be supportive? Is it going to be developmental? Is it going to be any of those questions? And once you've answered those questions, you say we're going to want it to be innovative and inclusive and diverse. Then you have to start thinking about, well, how do we make our environment innovative, inclusive and diverse? And one of the things that Greenway did, which was the first chambers to do this in Australia, is we provide 6 months maternity leave when people have children, because barristers have to pay their room fees whether they're in them or not. And so when they take 6 months off to have a child or look after a child, they lose a huge amount of income. And it's our way of saying we support you in taking that time off. It comes at a cost. The other barristers have to pay for it, or chambers have to find some sort of way to cover that cost. But it's a decision that you make because your diversity is on the top of your agenda. The big thing that people need to get their head around as well is the new generation of consumers that are coming through. The millennials are all about culture, and they're all about impact, and they're all about work environments, and they're all about innovation, they're all about technology. And so if we're really going to be looking at this, you have to ask yourself the questions of what makes those environments diverse or supportive or any of those sorts of things.
Thanks, Tobias. Adrian, your thoughts on this? How do we create this environment to support all those kind of energies?
I guess from the perspective of someone who's new in a very hierarchical industry, it's difficult to actually have an opinion about it, because the reality is you usually don't get a look in because you haven't been in the industry for 20, 30 years. You just don't know about technology. But I value working for culture that is supportive of that. So you do find people in firms who do endorse your point of view or champion your point of view. And something that I guess is technology driven, doesn't have to be technology as the center of everything, but it has to be a part of something because it's just the language of business now. It's very digitally native.
Thank you. Leonie, your thoughts?
Yeah, and technology and the ability for technology to allow you to work flexibly. For me, when I was working full-time in the city, if I had those opportunities to do that, and I had pretty good flexibility in Macquarie, but if I had flexibility I needed, which is far greater than what I was given, I wouldn't have left to start my own practice. So hopefully in time, there are more alternative law firms like ours, or the top tier and the in-house teams start to actually really recognise that there is a really huge amount of flexibility needed, and then they need to build the technology around that.
Thank you. Marcus, your thoughts on this idea of creating that right environment for professional development, personal passions in the law, work-life balance, these kind of things. How do we do that?
Well, the main strategy to address that for me was a structural one, which is why I built Nexus. It's a structural revision to the law firm to do exactly that, which is to create a practice platform that people can develop their own careers in an independent way, set their own work-life balance within a collegiate system connected to a greater whole, so being a new practice option between big firm practice and sole practice without the downside of either, a new option that sits in the middle. That's entirely what it's about, is a structural revision to create what I think is the right environment for lawyers for the future in the modern world, and in all the things we want and need, which is flexibility. And so, there are a number of ways to do that, by policies and procedures and being good management principles. My answer to it was a structural one. And you know, I'm not saying it's perfect either, but it certainly is directed at exactly that. And I think more firms should look at more of a structural approach in terms of how they approach these issues rather than a simple policy or procedure. Half of the bigger firms, I think, you know, they're very much fixed in their structure, whereas people like Leonie and myself have the ability to sort of go with a greenfields thing and start from scratch, and so we're more flexible in that respect.
Thanks, Marcus. Okay, I'd just like to open it up to the floor now to see if there are any questions from the floor for the panel here in these topic areas or related ones. I think I have a question about that. Thanks. Go ahead.
Hi there. Firstly, thanks for your time today. It's been really interesting. My question is really just about your opinions on how automation and artificial intelligence might impact how younger lawyers are trained and perhaps how they start to see their role in the legal profession. I mean, I know I'm a corporate lawyer, a relatively junior one, and I know that for the first few years of my training, a lot of it was spent doing the sort of mundane administrative tasks that you guys were talking about. You know, ASIC forms, board minutes, share certificates, share transfer forms, all of that sort of stuff. Very rote and mundane. However, I think it contributed to my sense of an understanding of the legal environment in which I worked. So to that extent, it was very useful. So I'm wondering whether you think that perhaps there are some disadvantages to automating the more rote aspects of law, at least to the extent that they apply to more junior lawyers who are still sort of learning the ropes.
Adrian has to take this one. This is you're born for this one.
No, I do agree, and it's a difficult question because I guess junior lawyers are the engine room of a firm, and a couple of years' time, they're your senior associates, your partners who are bringing in your money. That's where you make your money from. I think the way we've looked at it, you and I, because I'm part of, I guess, the group that are looking at what we do to legal education to keep those core skills is you have a hybrid approach. So the lawyer, you might not necessarily have as many graduate lawyers, trainees on site. They will still do those routine tasks to an extent. They might have a piece of technology that helps them, that assists them, but by the same token, you're still doing that core work. But you also need to have an understanding of the technology, how to operate it, how to understand what its output is it giving you the right output? But then where do you get that understanding from? So you need, I guess, that cross-disciplinary thinking. And at New South, at least, we've introduced a neurologic course, which is designing technology solutions for access to justice, and they're supporting community legal centres through the use of neurologic software. And for those law students, I guess they'll have that background about how those pieces of technology are put together, how they work. But by the same token, they still have their core legal education. So you might see a leaner group of graduates, but I still think they'll still perform the same function.
The truth is there is a leaner group of graduate jobs. There's 75% less positions now than there was in 2001. The pool of applicants is small, and often it's only the most talented people that are getting opportunities to work at big law firms. The mundane tasks are going to go, and there is going to have to be a structural shift. And this is where we actually change the way that law graduates are trained. And law firms are going to have to look at them as not a way of getting jobs done, but as an investment in their future. Because if we are going to want these custom lawyers to be doing the work that the AI and automation and all of that sort of stuff isn't doing, they need to be trained. And so for any business, they're going to have to look at it as a succession planning sort of thing. But I think in universities, we need to really be looking at this seriously and saying what skills can we add to those law degrees and how can we make them more successful when they come out. And I think business skills is going to be one of those things that they need to do.
I think it's a real problem for the next younger generation coming through, and how to train them effectively in an era where a lot of that stuff will be process driven. But perhaps when the dust settles on some of that stuff, there is the opportunity to train them at a higher level, because the process-driven work has been done for them, and then we get to train them directly in the bespoke areas of law. And it's interesting to mention universities. It is a big discussion amongst universities, and I'm on the board of the Newcastle Uni Law School. And there's a big conversation going on about how to structure courses for the future to deal with this, and to train people with young lawyers with some understanding of the technology that produces this documentation, and so they can get their head around it, as that person said, and understand the lay of the land, and then they can be trained in the bespoke areas or the nuanced areas of law. So, but I really feel for the younger generation coming into the profession now. Just right now, for the next maybe 5 or 10 years, it's going to be difficult, because there's just not a lot of new jobs being created in the legal industry as this process settles.
Can I just add, jobs aside, it's important for trained legal professionals, as technology becomes a greater part of what businesses do, to understand, some of them, how technology works in the back end. Because you have jurisdictions overseas, the US, I can't remember the criminal court, but they're using an algorithm in their sentencing procedure. And how do you train, who looks at that and says, okay, there's an inherent bias in the way that this sentencing is being carried out? Who compares that to the laws that are in existence? You need a lawyer to do that, but you can't have a lawyer who just has no idea what's happening, because in the back end, in that black box, you need to understand what's happening. And I think this AI debate about where AI is going, and Elon Musk coming out saying we need to have ethics around it. He's right in a sense in that we need people to be there to ensure that the laws we have are being followed, to ensure that there's no bias, that this technology is regulated in a way. And a lot of that can be circumvented just by virtue of not bridging that technology gap. So I think it's critically important for lawyers who play a role in the policy and in the lawmaking to understand the tech, because for some areas of tech, there is just no way around it. You have to understand what's happening, or else you can't make informed decisions about it. So that's just a separate view from, I guess, learning tech for the sake of the job.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions from the floor for the panel?
Adrian, where do you learn all this technology in a good way?
How do you catch up?
15-year-old.
Yeah.
I'd say come along to the legal forecast events we hold, but a lot of it is out there freely. So tech community is really big on open source learning. So you Google search, you can do coding tutorials online. Like, you don't have to learn how to code, but there are some very good talks and papers out there that are pretty easy to understand. And I think a great example of it, and I've been talking about it for a while, is the blockchain paper. So people think blockchain is so very complex, but if you read the original essay behind it, from a non-technology perspective, up until the last few pages, it's pretty easy to understand. So there are a lot of people out there who are willing to talk, and I think a lot of people in tech are trying to bridge that gap, because now they're coming to these professional industries that have their own legalese, business talk, and they're trying to bridge that gap too. So I guess there's a bit of a synergy there.
There's another thing you can do. Well, I married a software developer.
Well, I was suggest with LexisNexis, perhaps you could host a collection of the best articles suggested by Adrian in one spot.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there's absolutely.
authority.
But it's interesting, Sam. I mean, certainly as we've gone around the country and had these conversations with everybody, there's been a high level of engagement. There's been a lot of discussion. There's been very similar debates and comments to what we've seen today, and there is a lot of people in our industry trying to figure things out. I mean, I think what is interesting is when we had the word cloud up there just earlier on, blockchain was a very small word on that screen. I'm not saying it should have been any bigger, but what I will tell you is in Adelaide it dominated. It was the word that everybody picked. And I actually have, on the basis of Adelaide, said to everybody that I've hosted as I've gone around the country, I will buy somebody a glass of wine if they can explain blockchain to me easily. Now I know there's a paper I should read, but I haven't had to buy anybody a glass of wine yet. So I think, you know, there are some interesting things that are emerging as we all struggle to just figure out, you know, what's the stuff we want to connect with, and what's the stuff that really is maybe a little bit of hype or isn't necessarily so relevant. Yes, sir, at the back.
Yeah, question for Leonie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm a little bit jealous of the virtual firm and hanging around in pyjamas all day and all that stuff. But
Only until 11.
Are there aspects of the physical and the collegiate that you miss? And what are they, and how have you got around them?
I don't miss it because I also act a little bit like a law firm in a bag. I travel, our office is in Roselle, our home's in Roselle, so I travel into the city and I'm constantly in the office of the clients when they need me. When I say constantly, maybe once or twice a week I'm in and out. So I get that interaction, I get to wear a suit from time to time, which is nice. And the collaborative way our software works is that I'm constantly in communication with the consultants. We work on projects together, we're on the phone, we go for coffee and lunches. So it's similar, it's just, you know, to working collaboratively in a firm. I do not miss turning up and sitting at my desk for the sake of turning up to sit at my desk and wait till it hits. I don't miss that at all. I work when there needs to be work. I take days off. I don't ask anyone. So yeah, it works. The balance is good. Would you like it, John?
You couldn't afford me, sorry.
I'm scared of leaving it on that note. Somebody else got another question. Any other questions? Oh, at the front.
Okay. When we go on leave, you put a notice on your email, you know, you can click in to say, I'll be away from you know, 15th of July to the 20th of August. In my absence, please contact me. Why don't we do that on a daily basis?
I think that's something.
Just, I mean, you know, clients, other reasonable employers.
The only thing I would say about that is that what's the message you're sending to the client, that they're not being heard. That's probably one of my initial reactions with that. I did read an article once that said when you go on holidays, you should put an email that says, I'm away, and when I return, I'm going to be deleting every email in my inbox. And it means that people don't send you a landline and then forget about it and you come back and there's something there. And I think there is a little bit of email hygiene that needs to happen where we are practicing these sorts of things where there are bounce backs and people do know where you are. I know personally my email gets checked by my assistant if I know that I'm going to be away for half a day or anything like that, so I can get alerted to if there's anything in my inbox. But the only thing I would be what are the optics around sending an email to a client saying I won't be responding until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That would be my only issue.
Thank you, Tobias. Okay, maybe we've time for one final question. Yes, ma'am.
I just always thought that lawyers are terribly bad at collaborating. And for instance, everybody will have their person folder, so it used to be on the shelf now, it's looking hard drive somewhere. Have you got any, have you seen, particularly the where you've got your software, but have you seen any good tools to encourage people to actually, like open source, but here's my document, you come up with a better clause, let me know, or we've got a better clause.
I mean, I don't have a tool. We work that way, and as there's more, it's women and men, but our network seems to be women with young children. As we grow, and even consultants of mine, but people who aren't consulting to us, who have their own firm, we all just help each other and share you know, templates, and we don't have Gilbert and Tobin precedent files. So and some, you know, some have LexisNexis templates, which are fantastic.
No, thank you.
I don't have an actual tool. It's more just the way we collaborate, the way we help each other. It's like a network. We have to kind of band together as individuals. I mean, yeah, probably.
Oh, look, it's an absolute driver in our firm. You know, we're an a network of contractors like Leonie, but they're all connected into one practice management system and one insurance and everything nationally, and so that's a big deal. And the silo mentality is a killer of law firms, I believe, and so we have huge efforts around collaboration. The whole system is geared towards people collaborating on matters together, and so you can invite people into matters to work together on documents, and we run a knowledge bank, so we do exactly what you just said, which is, we put up templates in the knowledge bank and we invite people to contribute to them, and that's part of the feature of the online piece we're doing as well. So it is the thing that technology really has helped. Practice management systems and what the owner's done, but the weakness in that is humans, is the silo mentality, unfortunately, and you're always battling against them.
What an interesting place to leave our discussion. So undoubtedly, we've had some good discussion today. People obviously remain absolutely at the centre of our profession, but it's rapidly changing, and again, I think we've got a sense of that in the discussion. I'd just like to take a moment to thank our panellists. That's Marcus, Leonie, Adrian, and Tobias. Thank you very much. We do have another gift for you. And thanking you everybody for your time and your thoughts and your questions today. If you're interested in CPD, just email us and we will send you your certificate. This is actually our last stop in our panel discussions. So soon after this, we'll be sending our collective insights out to everybody who attended. So thank you very much for that. And thanks for coming along, and please do stay a while and have a glass of wine with us and chat some more. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.